DJI FPV tutorials. First flight.
Alright, I got it.
I went with the DJI FPV combo since this was the only thing available currently. Seems like this is a pretty damn popular product. Inside the box you have the DJI FPV drone, the goggles V2, remote controller 2, AC power cable, an intelligent flight battery, headbands for the goggles, control sticks, goggles power cable, propellers, a goggles battery, AC power adapter, a USB data cable, a top shell, 4 goggles antennas, a manual, and very important, a USB-C OTG cable that you're gonna need if you want to practice in the Virtual Flight App, but more of that later. You can also purchase a motion controller, but to me this seems more like a gimmick and I might purchase it at a later time and test it for you guys. DJI made it extremely easy for beginners to get started. Just put everything together according to the tutorial, download the app and you're pretty much set to go. One important thing to notice, make sure that your smartphone's up to date, otherwise shit won't work. Before your first flight, I'd highly recommend you to download the Virtual Flight App. It's free and you can connect it then to your goggles and simulate a training session with your drone inside of the goggles using the actual RC of the drone. I have a little problem though, and that is that I get motion sick when I, for instance, game on my PSVR, and the same problem also applies to these goggles when I train on the DJI Virtual Flight App. My solution to this problem is that I treat my virtual training sessions inside of the app exactly the same way as if I was out there flying. Basically, this means after 10 up to 15 minutes of training, just take a break, breathe in, drink a little bit of water, and then restart the whole thing. I've been flying traditional drones like the Phantom or the Mavic 2 Pro for a couple of years, and I think I'm quite a decent pilot. However, FPV is a whole different beast. When you start out, I'd highly recommend you to only use the N and S mode, since the M mode takes a lot of practice to master it and you're very likely to actually crash your drone when you're not used to the full FPV experience. In N and S mode, the drone starts just like a Mavic. However, once you're up in the air, you'll notice that this drone is different. You're much more flexible in the way you fly, and in general, the FPV drone feels more agile but also less steady than a traditional drone. You can get impressive shots and everything feels quite smooth unless you really push the drone to its limits or fly under windy conditions. Another real cool feature that I like about the RC is what I call oh shit button. It's a button that basically resets your DJI FPV drone mid-air, so it stops everything and your drone will hover if you press it. And I think that's really helpful when you lose orientation or you're about to crash and you just don't know what to do. By the way, in most countries it's actually illegal to go FPV droning just on your own, so always make sure to take a buddy with you as your drone spotter. Many professional FPV drone pilots will keep telling you that you're gonna crash your drone no matter what when you're learning FPV. I mean, that might be true, but I think if you fly within your own abilities, the DJI FPV is built like a tank and will survive a few hiccups and mini crashes. Speaking of crashes, WeTalkUAV made a ridiculous crash test video, link is in the description below. I definitely recommend to check it out because they really put the DJI FPV through its paces and they figured that this thing is actually built far tankier than we thought it was. Okay, review Michael here. We actually just literally touched the surface of the water. Look at this beast here. This is amazing, this drone is virtually indestructible. Now in case you crash this drone, you can actually buy replacement parts, currently only from DJI, but I'm pretty sure that there will be some aftermarket products rather sooner than later. The image quality of the DJI FPV, in my opinion, is somewhere in between the Phantom 4 and the Mavic 2 Pro. Truthfully speaking, DJI is a company that wants to earn money, and there's a thing like product segmentation, so of course you are not gonna get the image quality like a Mavic 2 Pro out of this puppy here. Nevertheless, the picture straight out of the camera is pretty good, and the auto exposure and auto white balance feature is useful at most times. Some reviewers out there, mainly people that build their own drones, maybe own a drone shop or have a lot of experience in FPV, complain about the expensive price tag. But when you think what you actually get with the whole combo, it's priced fairly reasonable. Quick recap, what you get. You get a finished product, a product that works straight out of the box, has all safety features that beginners need, and I think has enough beef inside for pros to actually play around with it as well. If you as a beginner want to save yourself the hustle of building your own rig, soldering things and dealing with, exploding batteries and whatnot, this is pretty much the way to go. There are pre-built Cinewhoops out there, but if you really want the performance and the convenience of this product here, you're gonna end up spending the same amount, if not even more. And at the end of the day, this is what you pay for when you buy a DJI FPV drone. It's a convenient system that works and you can actually rely on it in any way. If I'm not doing these YouTube videos, I actually work as a videographer in an in-house agency at a huge company. And when you shoot important corporate videos or, work for any client, you kind of want a system that works. Like the last thing you want on a shoot is like, okay shit, it somehow doesn't work and I have to get my laptop and reconfigure the motors or whatever. You don't want that. You want a system that works and gives you peace of mind so that you can actually focus on the creative process. And I think this is what the DJI FPV was intended for. This is not mainly a race drone, it is rather a cinematic FPV drone. There are two things I currently don't like about this drone after using it for a couple weeks. Number one, and I think this is something you probably can't fix just with a firmware update, that is the gimbal. I really wish that DJI just implemented a tilt head and then figured out everything else with electronic image stabilization. Why? This allows for much more aggressive flight maneuvers. Like sometimes when I fly a really aggressive curve with this drone, I kind of feel like that the gimbal is coming to its performance end, and that sucks. The other thing that I currently don't like, but I'm sure they will fix it really shortly with a firmware update, is the frame rate options. Currently you can only shoot 4K 50 and 60 and of course Full HD 120 and 50-60. And I would love to have a 24, 30 or 25 frames option. To come to the conclusion and the probably $1,500 question, should you buy this drone? If you can answer the following 3 questions with a yes, you should buy it. Question number 1, do you like drones? Yes? Good. Question number 2, do you like drones with amazing image quality? Yes? Good. Third question, do you like fun? If yes, then this is the drone for you. There's many ways to get a great drone shot, but the most fun way is currently with this drone here. If you like this video, it would mean a lot to me if you liked, subscribe or leave a comment below. Until then, keep creating and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cut!